Pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Open Public Meetings Act statement.
Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting was forwarded to the official township newspapers, posted on the bulletin board and township website on January 8th, 2021. This meeting is being videotaped and will be on Channel 9.
Roll call.
Mr. Doyle?
Here.
Mr. Deegan?
Here.
Mrs. Special Wilson? Here. Mrs. Flame?
Here.
Mayor Bruno?
Here. We're going to open a public hearing. 01121, prohibiting part-time elected or appointed officials and professionals from receiving taxpayer-funded health benefits and pension.
Mayor, before we do that, I would request that Township Committee remove the references to end pensions in the title, the first whereas clause, and in the therefore clause. I don't think it's necessary and strongly advise that that be done before the public hearing occur.
Okay. Can I get a motion to strike end pensions from 01121?
I make a motion to strike and pensions from the 01121.
Second?
Can I get a motion to, or I'm sorry, I'll make a motion that we open the public hearing.
Let's
We
vote
gotta
on the,
vote on
let's
that.
vote on the,
I'm sorry.
the motion to amend first before we.
Trying to hurry it up.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Special Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to open the public hearing on 01121?
I now make the motion to open the public hearing.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Leah Vassalli, 560 Delsey Drive. I was wondering about the pension part of this, because I noticed in the budget there's still money allocated for DCRP, Defined Contribution Retirement Plan, and it's $1,500, so I assume that's for a part-time employee or a municipal official. So my question is, do any of you participate in the DCRP plan?
Don't know what it is.
No.
Don't even know what it is.
I don't know what that is.
Does any, that's actually a good benefit for township committee members and part-time employees. Do any part-time employees participate in the defined contribution retirement plan?
I don't have that information.
Okay, well, just so you know, you're allocating money towards it in the budget. So I'm curious then why this pension portion is being taken out of this ordinance.
Matt?
I think, Mayor, it's unnecessary, and it varies on a case-by-case basis. I think any action Township Committee would take would be A, unnecessary and cumbersome, and I would, again, that's why I recommend it be stricken.
It would be cumbersome to leave it in there.
I think, again, I've explained it, there's no need to take that action, and that's why I'm recommending it be taken out.
Okay, but there is a need to take the action related to the health care,
Correct.
even though no employees actually have the health care, and the health care is not taxpayer funded. But the pension, or the DCRP, which is taxpayer funded, and we don't know if anyone has it, should be left in because it's cumbersome to take it out.
Because it's covered by state statute, as I said last meeting.
But is not the health insurance covered by state
The health
statute?
insurance, in this instance, because we are not a participant in the state health benefit plan, is a discretionary matter for the Township Committee for part-time elected and appointed officials.
Well, we do agree on that, and that was my argument the last time we brought this up, is that it wasn't governed by state statute.
Yeah, and I think there may have been some miscommunication with regard to, again, the state health benefit plan has one standard, which is applicable in many towns that participate. We as a non-participant, it doesn't affect us.
Okay. So again, though, I would just point out, you say, whereas the Township of Franklin recognizes that taxpayers should not be funding pensions or health coverage for part-time public employees, you're allowing them to continue funding pensions, but not allowing people to buy into the health insurance, even though no one does, and it doesn't cost the township any money because it's not actually taxpayer funded. I just want to clarify that I'm not sure what this whole purpose of this ordinance is, but it looks to me like it's an attempt at a slam on me when I was on Township Committee and elected into the dental benefits program, because I don't see any other reason why this ordinance would possibly come up. So I just want to point out that I think it's short-sighted, because it takes away a benefit that literally costs the township nothing to part-time employees and elected officials. I mean, it's in a way a moot point, because there's no one currently using it, but I think it speaks loudly what the purpose of it is, because it doesn't even apply to the reasons stated in the ordinance for why you're doing this. Just my opinion, I think it's foolish to vote for it, but I will watch and see how people vote. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Can I get a motion to close O1121?
Make a motion that we close the public portion.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I get a motion to approve O1121?
I make a motion that we approve, excuse me, O1121.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
No.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to open the public hearing on O1221, establishing the salaries and wages of municipal officials and employees of the Township of Franklin?
Make a motion that we open the public portion of O1221.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, Harry Kennedy, 1578 Fry's Mill Road. You'll have to excuse me, I'll tell you, I can't even buy ripe bananas anymore. I left my notes at home, and I'll just have to go verbatim from my memory as to my questions on the salary ordinance. We'll see how good it is. One thing that stood out, Mr. Mayor, was probably an anomaly or a typographical mistake, at least I hope so. You set the range in the salary ordinance for the chief of police. I've been very fortunate to know every chief of police, from Danny Parisi through Jim Hogan up till the present one, and they've all done a fine job. But you set the minimum salary for the chief of police at the same level as a Class 2 officer starting salary, and the starting salary for the captain and the lieutenant in a significant amount below the minor end of the chief's range. I would think, again, I would hope that it was just a misprint, or again, an anomaly, or somebody made a mistake, but there's no reason under God's good earth that you would have a minimum salary for the chief of police the same as the starting salary for a second-class patrolman, and have it $20,000 below what the captain of the police is getting paid. Again, salary ordinances, I know, are infrequent, but they're very important. People like to get paid in a timely fashion and in a fair amount, and you might want to take a look at that in terms of amending that salary ordinance. The second thing I noticed was that there is a position in there, assistant administrator, $35,000 a year. It's down under Section 3 of the ordinance. Are you going to have an assistant to the administrator? As Mr. Wright decided after his long tenure, hey, you beat the last one already.
No, he hasn't. Not yet.
Not yet. But that he
after
needs an
tonight.
assistant, or was that just something that we're going to consider in the future? And
Something we'll consider in the future.
but you haven't budgeted for that position. You have, you put it in the salary ordinance, but have you put it into the budget as a budgeted position? I missed it if it's in there when I read through the budget.
It's not my understanding that there is a position budgeted in this budget cycle.
Okay, but it is for the first time in the salary ordinance, so again, somewhat.
I think it's been in the ordinance.
Has it before?
But it hasn't been filled as.
Okay, so you're sure it's been in there before?
I'm not certain, but I believe that it
Okay.
was not, I don't believe that it was added to this version.
Okay, yeah, hey, things happen. The other thing was, I noticed that one position came out, the assistant to the law department. That position has been removed from the salary ordinance?
Yes,
That was in last year's salary ordinance?
I believe so.
Do you remember what that salary was for that position, Mr. Mayor?
I don't.
I know there wasn't a law department, but there was an assistant to the law department. Was that salary paid last year to anyone?
I don't believe so.
Should I open that to make sure? I would be
Yes.
happy to do that, Mr. Mayor, because I know you're rarely wrong, but again, you can't be expected to know every
I'm like,
salary that's
I
been
don't have
paid.
those notes in front of me.
No, I know, nor do I, but again, I noticed that one was cut out. The other question I would have is that there were some secretarial positions and some positions at the Department of Public Works. I know that you assign one person to do parks, and I see that, again, this might very well have been in salary ordinances in the past. You have 2 foreman positions in the Department of Public Works. You have a foreman for Public Works and a foreman to work on parks. Are those things that you plan to fill this year and advertise for, or are they just there as part of the salary
I think they're
ordinance?
just there as part of the salary ordinance.
So there are no plans at
There's
this
no
time to
intentions
fill
at
those
this time.
positions?
I mean, honestly, that could change in
No.
a couple months, but right now, there's no plans.
No. Again, looking at the numbers that were placed in the budget for the Department of Public Works in terms of the diminished numbers as opposed to the numbers for last year, it would be very hard to find 2 salaries of that nature in what you budgeted in the Public Works Department this year. But in any case, thank you very much for your time, Mayor. Thank you for your candor, and we'll check and see whether that salary was paid last year. Thank you.
Make sure you send me a copy of the open.
Will do.
Can I get a motion to close O-1221?
I make a motion, we close the public portion of O-1221.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I get a motion to approve O-1221?
Wait, do we want to check on that chief of police? Is that right, what he was saying?
The chief's contract, as long as we set the salary in accordance with his contract.
Within that range.
The upper range is on there is fine. We have the capacity to meet the obligations.
Stop
of the
sweating, Chief.
ordinance. Or someone would, I'm sure, alert us.
A little bit better now?
I want to look at the high end. Yeah, exactly.
Hey,
I mean,
I wouldn't
that's true.
expect
Some are
anything
set.
different.
You know, there are some ranges that are set at $0 or $1, but the point is that the upper range encompasses the number we need to have authorized in order to meet our obligations.
Just so it's covered under the high.
We're covered.
Okay, I just didn't want to vote on something that wasn't right.
So I make a motion to approve O-1221.
I'll second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruder?
Yes. All right, we're going to open the public hearing on Resolution R 12921, adoption of the Township of Franklin 2021 budget. Can I get a motion to open the public portion?
Make a motion that we open the public portion.
I'll second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have to, first
Yeah,
we're going to do
R128.
128. We have to do 128 first. It's part of the budget.
Technically, we have to do that before we vote on budget.
Just going by what I got. Let's go back. Can I get a motion to open the public portion of R 128? Was this public hearing on this?
It's just a resolution.
Resolution? I apologize. Can I get a motion to approve R 12821?
I make a motion that we approve R-2821.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Mr. Mayor, I don't want to be a stickler for following the law, but you might want to open it for a public comment. on
There's no
resolutions
requirement to
be
do
done.
that. If you'd like to speak on it, we certainly can.
Well, it says that you're going to have a motion for a public portion for resolutions and ordinances.
All right, you know what, let's do that to not have to stand here all night and have this debate. So we would open, Mayor, for the public portion prior to voting on 128, which is a perfunctory resolution.
Can I get a motion to open the public portion for R 12821?
I make a motion to go into public portion.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Is it just for R-128?
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah. Again, Mr. Mayor,
You got notes this time.
as a former mayor, I certainly do not in any way mean to be critical. There is a public portion for resolutions and ordinances below. And again, I don't know who prepares. You don't do it. That's not your job. You're the mayor of the township. But there was no designation for a public hearing on the budget tonight, at least in what was mailed out and what was sent to the public. The first order of business always by you is to open the first public portion to talk about anything that's going to be discussed later on that night. It gives the Township Committee a chance to listen to what the citizens have to say and then make up their own mind as to whether or not it's appropriate to vote for it. But it's an important part of democracy that we adhere to the rules and follow them. And again, I know they're prickly and get annoying at sometimes and cause you to be pained, but hey, what the hell? We all signed up for the job. In regards to the canceling the special emergency authorization for COVID-19, I believe, and again, I didn't bring it in front of me, I believe it was for $275,000, Mr. Mayor? Yes, $275,000, and that's canceled in the budget. Is there a reason? Are we not going to expend it? Or was it not, we could not qualify for it, or we could not find COVID-related reasons for spending that money, and we're using other COVID funds, obviously, in other areas, over $800,000 to balance the budget. But is this gone from us, or is it usurped, or did we spend some of it, any of it, or it's just gone forever?
I'm not sure your process, but
Right.
through the mayor.
Certainly.
It was authorized in 2020. It was not utilized. So therefore, since that amount was not utilized, we will cancel it so that we don't have to raise the 1/5.
Right.
And that was a checker's note from DCA that requested we do that prior to the adoption.
So $275,000 that could have been utilized by the township for...
Now,
Couldn't have been?
No,
No?
I wasn't here for that portion, but, so I can't speak to the nature of why it was passed, but it was,
he's addressing your question.
But you were telling him, no, I didn't know. No, I
no,
defer to you,
it's not
certainly.
money that would have been utilized
Right.
unless it met the criteria for utilizing it. And again, I'm sorry, I can't speak to the past, but,
There was nothing that we could find that would meet the criteria for using it, I guess.
again, I can research that.
You weren't,
but-
obviously you weren't here. But the $275,000 was not used, in other words.
I know we had put in for some things, and we
Right.
got some money back. Now, I don't know,
It sounds,
If it
it
could have
sounds
been
if you're
this.
if you're canceling the appropriation, Mayor, and again, the former administrator is not here, or the former 3 administrators aren't here. 2, well, 3, well, whatever. The administrators aren't here to talk about that particular grant. It was $275,000. I take it. And again, it wasn't expended. There might have been myriad reasons why it wasn't expended. But the $275,000 was not expended and is no longer available to the township. Is that correct?
that's correct.
Thank you very much. Now, all the other resolutions below we'll get to later on, but
No,
you're going to have
no.
a separate budget hearing.
No, we're going to have that right after this.
You're going to have, are you going to call it as a separate, I think you probably want to have a separate budget hearing, Mr. Mayor.
We are.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you very much for your time.
Good evening, Leah Vasallo again. I was just curious, usually when there's a budget hearing, the CFO is present, or the auditor is present, or someone with financial knowledge is present. And I'm just curious why we don't have that today.
Sitting right there.
You're the CFO?
I'm acting CFO.
Okay, I apologize. I thought you were acting administrator. Okay. My
It'll
question...
be easy when he leaves. We'll
No,
leave
no,
too.
it's just, it is. I just want to make sure there's someone to answer the question. And you might have already answered it to Harry, but for whatever reason, your mic is not picking up and I could not hear it. Is this $275,000 that we received and now have to return? Or was this $275,000 that we had planned to spend and now are not spending? Like, at the end of the day, does this increase our surplus negatively, or does it not affect it?
This would have no effect on the surplus. This was an emergency that was done, like a budget type emergency that then would be raised over 5 years. So it was an internal item. It wasn't a grant or funding from an outside source. So basically, if we had to use those funds, then we would be.
You would have had to borrow them over the next-
To do
Pay
a
them
note
back over
and
time.
basically borrow money and basically raise the funds.
Okay, so when they were in the budget, it was in the budget as an expenditure, and you were allowed to expend $275,000 more than what you
It was an
raised?
allowance that was made through DCA to do emergencies for certain items that came up that may not have been in the actual budget document itself.
Okay, so the
So-
bottom line is you didn't spend it, now you won't be,
Right, it would not
Borrowing
make sense
it,
to
it does
raise
not
the
actually
1/5
affect the
from
surplus.
taxpayers, Correct.
Okay.
It's a net zero.
that's my question, thank you.
You get a motion to close the public portion on R 12821.
I make a motion that we close the public portion.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I get a motion to approve R 12821?
I make a motion that we approve R 12821.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Special Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Lane?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to open the public portion for R 12921, adoption of the Township of Franklin 2021 budget?
Make a motion that we open the public portion for the budget for 2021.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Leah Vasallo again. I just wanted to ask, who is on the budget committee this year?
Dave?
I am.
Deegan and myself.
Okay. And I know in the past, Dave, you've always insisted on having public hearings during the budgeting season. Did you do that this year?
No, we didn't, because it's in somewhat of a state of flux.
What was in the budget?
The
was-
township.
The township was in a state of flux?
Yep, with the various positions.
Okay. I guess my question is this. I noticed this year you anticipate no surplus in the budget. Dave, is there a reason?
We didn't use any surplus?
Correct.
Yep.
And what is that
We was
reason?
we were able to use the $800,000 from the CARES money, and we wanted to leave that, so we could continue to build it for future years.
Now, when you say continue to build it, would you say you're building it as we speak? Because I took a look at the surplus numbers, and in 2014, the township had $146,000 in surplus. In 2015, we had $1.2 million. In 2016, we had $1.8 million. In 2017, we had $2.3 million. And now we have $196,000. So I don't know how that would be building the surplus, because it looks to me as if what's been done is, 2018, the surplus number, I don't believe is quite reflective of what it was. But basically, for the last 2 years, the surplus has basically been drained. And my concern is, when I first sat on Township Committee in 2014, that surplus was way too low, $146,000. It was a real problem, and it affected the financing terms we received and everything else. And we worked very hard to build that surplus up to $2.3 million, and now it's down to what's effectively zero. I mean, had that $275,000 thing we discussed earlier affected the surplus, it would have actually eliminated the entire surplus. If something happens and, we don't have the revenue that's anticipated, or, there's no buffer. There's no buffer for anything to happen in an $11 million budget with a $196,000 surplus. I think that's way too low, and I think you really should take another look at this budget. You have a new CFO, you have a new administrator, you have a number of issues in this budget, one being it looks as if your salary and wages are increasing at 20% from last year, which to me doesn't sound correct or possible, but maybe it is. But the main thing is, your surplus is way too low, in my opinion. No $11 million budget should have a, 1% surplus. So that's my opinion. I would not support this budget. I would actually go back and take another look at it and see if it's fiscally responsible, because I don't believe it is. It looks to me like the same exact thing that was done in 2014, where the tax rate increase was kept as low as possible, but it's only passing it down the road. We're going to have major problems next year or the year after.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Harry Kennedy again. Again, just, I know you've heard, I remember the great budget debate of last year or the year before with all the CFOs from the other towns coming in and talking about how the surplus was being depleted. And unfortunately, they were right. You're down to 196,000. 2 years ago, Mr. Mayor, it was at 800,000, 800,000 the following year, and now it's down to 192,000. Were it not for the CARES Act and that $800,000 that you have to apply, that would have been a 10-cent tax increase for the residents of Franklin Township.
Maybe more.
I know, you're right. And again, for all the, it's a 5-0 Republican body sitting up there. Republicans are noted for their fiscal conservancy, and in most cases, I guess, they are. Monroe Township, in their budget, no tax increase whatsoever, surplus. The surplus has been depleted. A 10-cent tax increase would have been there without the federal aid. We're in very dire straits, which is, I'm sure, why we have Jersey management. And my goodness, let me get it all straight. The CFO, the administrator, and the purchasing agent. There are probably a lot of checks and balances that have to be done by your right hand, your left hand, and your middle for all those jobs. But I'm sure you'll do it. Anybody that could survive the city of Camden and the takeover and all the work there is certainly prepared to work in Franklin Township. But again, to the ladies and gentlemen that are sitting up there, next year there will be 2 people running for Township Committee. Whether it's 2 of the people sitting up here or 2 new people. They'll still have the benefit of the CARES Act. They'll still have the second year of that installment, that $800,000. After that, it's all gone. There's nothing there anymore except the frugality and the reality of what you have to do as a township committee and in your budget work. And as Dave so eloquently pointed out, the turnover that's been here, the turnover in the financial department, the turnover in the other departments, the turnover in the building department. As Mr. Wright's probably aware, I used that great quote from his page about the reflection on the people that hire them when there's a lot of turnover. We need a lot of serious work to be done and serious people to do it. It's gotten to the point where there's no return. $192,000 is not much of a buffer for anybody. And again, Mr. Wright is eminently familiar with state takeovers and fiscal problems, and I'm sure he does not ever want to be part of that again. And I'm sure you don't either. I wish you the best of luck in making that budget work, Mayor.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to close the public hearing on R-129-21?
I make a motion, we close the public portion.
A second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I get a motion to approve R-129-21?
I make a motion that we approve R 129-21.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to open the public portions for resolutions and ordinances below?
I make a motion that we open the first public portion.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, chief? The salary thing got you all freaked out, didn't it?
It's all choked up.
So, man, that guy's doing us good, man. He's gonna go back to. Oh, shit, I should have said you got me screwed up, Brian.
Good evening, Renee Pistoia, the authority, 2787 East Grand Avenue, R136-21, temporary acting construction official. I know the gentleman works for Monroe Township. What hours is he working for us? What days, what hours, it's not indicated.
What's he working, Barb?
3 days.
3 days a week?
Three
And
days.
Mayor, the statute in that regard provides just the hours. The schedule is set by the construction official per state statute. I mean, we don't have that discretion.
So he
He
sets his
does.
own hours?
He sets his schedule, correct. He doesn't set his hours in essence.
Sets the
of
schedule,
So it's 3 days a week?
correct.
So what benefit is that of your, so he's also there for temporary 30 days, is what it says?
Correct.
Okay, so why didn't we just keep the guys we had give them a 30-day
They
notice?
resigned.
Huh?
They tendered their letter of resignation, both of them.
They both resigned
They both resigned.
willingly.
I don't know what you mean by that, but they both resigned.
Okay. So this guy's going to be doing all 3 hats:
3 hats,
construction, plumbing. He's going to do them all.
plumbing.
3 days a week, he's going to do all 3 jobs. When we
Correct.
You have
have,
to remember those guys were part-time.
I understand, I do,
Okay.
and the reason why I'm asking is because I call for inspections a lot, and the construction official, it's like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and your plumbing is Tuesday and Thursday. Well, if he's holding all 3 hats, he's here every day then.
No, because some of those guys only worked a few hours when they were here. Like, they were here on Tuesday for 2 hours. They weren't here for a full day.
Plumbing guy worked minimal amount of hours.
Well, your construction is big.
Our construction is big.
Having one guy that can sign off on all that should make it go faster, not slower. Because now they're not waiting 2 days for the other guy that works 2 hours to come in.
So when we call for an inspection, it's a one-shot deal. He's coming out and doing all the inspections at one time.
If you're ready, I'm assuming, I mean, you can ask him when you call, or you can ask Sissy when you call. But he's responsible for the construction and the plumbing inspections.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Taking a motion to close the first public portion.
I make a motion that we close the first public portion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I get a motion to approve correspondence and reports?
I make a motion that we approve the correspondence and reports.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from July 13th, 2021, July 19th, 2021, and August 2nd, 2021?
I make a motion that we approve all the minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I
Can I get a mo-
wasn't here, so I'll abstain.
Thanks for that, Tim. Can I get a motion to approve the bill list?
I make a motion that we approve the bill list.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, if I can interrupt again, I'm sorry, my apologies. If I could request 2 items being added to the bill list, if I could tell you what they are. The first one is the bill for Gloucester County in the amount of $2,369,829.41, and the second one is the second installment for the JIF for $342,993.
Do we have to pay the county?
I would have to recommend yes, sir. They charge interest after a certain date.
Of course they do.
Again, my apologies for that not being included. It was needed to be on there.
Thank you.
So I make a motion with the additions
The
that.
amended bill list.
Yes.
We second?
I will second. Do
On the
I
amended bill
recuse
list.
myself now or when I vote?
When you vote.
Okay.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes, but, well, no, yes, but recuse myself from the Franklin alarm line.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Oh, you make it sound so easy.
It's easy. Yes. Can I get a motion to approve R 13021, appointing Rosemary Flattery as Planning and Zoning Administrative Officer?
I make a motion that we approve R 13021.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve R 13121?
I make it-
hold on, Dave. Authorizing the tax collector and chief financial officer to grant tax exemption for a totally disabled veteran.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
I make a motion that we approve R 13121.
I'll second, please.
Are you coughing
Mr.
on me?
Doyle?
Oh,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Mr.
Why are
Deegan?
we
Yes.
so close
Mrs.
together?
Peshwell?
You guys are like, it's a merry sandwich up here.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Taking a motion to approve R 13121, authorizing the tax collector and chief financial officer to grant tax exemption for a totally disabled veteran.
You just did that one.
We just did.
No,
Way to go.
no, I thought we did the,
Way to
thing.
go.
Well, approve it again.
I make a motion we approve it again.
Thanks, Dave. Taking a motion to approve R 13221, approving an award number 21 BWC 155 in the amount of $77,444 for SFY 21 body worn camera grant program from the State Department of Law and Public Safety, Office of the Attorney General.
I make a motion that we approve R 13221.
I'll second.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yeah, I just want to ask Brian, now that's, I talked to you earlier about this, Brian, so I don't want to put you on the spot. That doesn't cover all of our costs for that, correct?
No.
So they basically told us they were going to cover the cost of the body cameras and all that, and now they're going to come up about $18,000 short?
Yes, they're only covering $2,630 per camera, where it's costing us actually a little more than that because of storage and, I say trinket things, but the bases that go on them. the-
Accessories or whatever.
Absolutely, plus all the equipment to run it, the servers and everything.
Can't believe the state was dishonest. I'm a yes on that, Barb. Can I get a motion to approve R 13321? Well, that's a duplicate, Barb. No, 133, my apologies. Requesting the Director of
Oh,
the
my
Division of
goodness.
Local Government, I got so much writing on this piece of paper.
Let's talk about me.
Requesting the Director of the Division of Local Government Services to authorize the insertion of a special item of revenue in the 2021 budget of the Township of Franklin, Gloucester County, New Jersey.
I make a motion that we approve R 13321.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve R 13421, granting renewal of liquor license within the Township of Franklin for 21-22.
I make a motion that we approve R 13421.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve Resolution R 13521, authorizing the tax collector and chief financial officer to refund overpayment of taxes due to property no longer being billed in 2021.
Make a motion that we approve R 13521.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve R 13621, appointing a temporary acting construction official, temporary acting building subcode, temporary acting plumbing subcode official?
Make a motion that we approve R 13621.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve R 13721, authorizing the tax collector and chief financial officer to refund overpayment of taxes?
Make a motion that we approve R 13721.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve R 13821, appointing Linda Senior, is that it?
Yes. Yes.
To a position on the Franklin Township Library Board of Trustees?
Make a motion that we approve R 13821.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve R 13921, appointing Richard Wright as Township of Franklin Qualified Purchasing Agent?
I make a motion that we approve R 13921.
He
Second?
already left.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Where'd he go?
Mayor, he hasn't
Step
taken.
out.
Oh, okay.
Hasn't followed me back.
Geez, I thought he might have only gotten 2 days. Yes, ma'am.
Is that right liquors? Is that the same guy?
I don't think so.
Is that where he went?
No.
No.
On
And he,
No, it's not.
No. Can I get a motion to approve R-14021, authorizing the tax collector and chief financial officer to refund overpayment of taxes?
I make a motion that we approve R 14021.
second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
I just have a question, like, how do I get on that list?
You pay
You
it,
and me
you
both.
overpay.
Oh.
Your
I'm
mortgage
okay,
company-
yes.
Your mortgage company overpays for you.
Yeah. Can I get a motion to approve R-14121, awarding the contracts for body worn cameras to Coban Technologies, Inc., Safe Fleet Law Enforcement?
I make a motion that we approve R 14121.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Brian, is that a local company?
Not exactly.
Not New Jersey?
No, they are.
Okay,
They do business all over the country.
okay.
actually.
Can I get a motion to approve R-14221? Another one. Authorizing the tax collector and chief financial officer to refund overpayment of taxes.
I make a motion that we approve R 14221.
Second?
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Deegan?
Yes.
Mrs. Pesh Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Flame?
Yes.
Mayor Bruno?
Yes. Can I get a motion to introduction on the following ordinances? Public hearing will be on September 14th.
Mayor?
We're going to table that.
The CFO is requesting the tabling of 01321 till September. He would like to analyze and review it before we introduce.
Okay. Can I get a motion to table O-1321?
I make a motion that we table O 1321.
So second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I get a motion to open the second public portion for any comments?
I make a motion that we open the second public portion.
Second?
Thanks, baby, quit.
He dropped something.
I know.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Good evening, Nancy Kennedy, 711 St. George Street. I just wanted to say that in the time that I worked with Mr. Saunders, I was extremely impressed with his knowledge and his professionalism, and not as his supervisor at this point, of course, but as a resident, I am sorry to see him go, and I know a lot of people had spoken very highly of him. So I wanted to take a minute and thank him. I know that you said he resigned. So, you know, I do. I thank him for his service. And Mayor, I also wanted to say, I can't tell you how much I appreciate as a member of St. Mary's Church and specifically of the Feast of the Assumption. It was just so nice to see you and your wife there on Sunday supporting an event in the community. And thank you to all of the Township Committee for allowing the pickup of trash on the grounds. It is a nonprofit, and that was greatly appreciated because Leah probably would have made me pick it all up. So thank you all very much and have a great evening.
I didn't get my chicken.
I know, I do feel bad about that, but the meatballs were good.
Meatball, the pasta was good, too, I'm not gonna lie to you.
Hi, Harry
Hi.
Kennedy, 1578 Fry's Mill Road. I was going to go into a discussion of an anonymous letter that I had received from a resident alleging certain wrongdoings by certain members of the governing body. However, I'm not going to do that. I am going to thoroughly research it. I have received many anonymous letters over the years as to many deleterious things that people have done. The only difference with this one was that it cited statute numbers and specific times and violations. I will certainly get it to your solicitor, your chief of police, and to the appropriate authorities before I take anybody's name through the mud publicly. And again, it's something that I certainly don't wish to engage in. Again, Mr. Mayor, thank you for supporting the St. Mary's feast day on Sunday. I was very fortunate to draw the winning tickets for the lottery. I was introduced as a former commissioner and freeholder director, and I got the very unsavvy political job of making one winner out of 200
So you didn't pick
losers.
my wife's
And I
ticket, so
picked your
it's you.
wife's, I did. I
You
picked.
did?
I did. I
She didn't
picked.
get a call.
Yeah, I picked your wife's,
She was mad.
I picked your wife's number out of one of the tins.
Just give it to
And
somebody
again,
else.
yeah, I will. I give so much
Was
to
it
so many
food?
others. I'd
Was
like
it
to give to
food?
you, Jake. Yeah, the food was, and next year, of course, many of you will still be sitting on the Township Committee, if not all of you. It will be the 100th feast day for Malaga and for St. Mary's. And I believe that, again, congratulations to your former mayor, Ms. Vassallo, and your former administrator, Ms. Kennedy, and all the other volunteers that worked on that. I believe financially, despite all the things that happened, it was one of the most successful ever. And thank you to the Township Committee and the Township for helping with community affairs, whether it's the group that tries to bring people together with unity, or whether it's the day that we have for Franklin Township Day. It's important to see all our elected officials out there and to have a chance to talk with them. Again, thank you for your participation, Mayor.
Boy, my wife's gonna be jealous.
Should have sat closer to the podium today. I'd like to thank you for stopping by, and I hope you had a good time. Separate from that, though, I do want to get back to the budget. I'm really concerned, and I first would ask you, Dave, I noticed, obviously, you said you're on the Budget Committee. You obviously voted for the budget. Does your son still work for Franklin Township?
Yes, he does.
And do you still work for your son?
I do.
Okay, so you voted on a budget that includes money that goes to your son, who owns a business that pays you. And I know for a fact you've received advice before that that's a conflict of interest. And
No?
I am just baffled again by the fact that despite that, you're still voting on a budget that clearly would have passed without your vote. Separate from that, I want to know, because I know you always fashioned yourself the financial guru, how do you plan to avoid a 10-cent or higher tax increase the year after next? What magic is going to happen that the year after next isn't going to result in a 10 or 12-cent tax increase as soon as this CARES fund is depleted, which it will be next year?
Well, I'm only one of the members on the Budget Committee and the CFO, and I work with them in putting the budget together. I don't build the budget from ground up. So let's make that very clear. In fact, this year, Jake and I had very little to do with the budget because of, again, all the time that was spent on it by our previous CFO, and then just a very short period of time that Richard had to go over it with the accounting firm.
Brandon.
So I don't have an answer for your question.
But I
don't know.
mean,
We have to
you-
work on it as we go through the
You
year.
just voted to approve a budget.
Yes, I did.
You know that the budget couldn't even allocate any surplus because we're effectively out of surplus. I mean, there was no way you could allocate surplus when you're down to $190-some thousand. You have a 20% increase, roughly, in salaries and wages. So you know that's going to follow through to the next year and the next year, and you know you're going to lose that $800,000 per year in aid, and I think it even cuts down to half of that, or is it a full 50-50 split, or how does that work?
The aid, Mayor, if we recall, it was based on lost revenues.
Lost revenue.
One of the largest components to that calculation was that we had suffered actual losses in normal operating revenue. So it was not as if the 800 fell out of the sky. There was a gap created by the lack of revenue because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And, you know, I'm not going to sit here tonight and talk about that because, you know, and where we will be 6 months from now. But that was the calculation, and how it was determined how much money we got was based primarily on expenses that increased because of COVID, but also revenues that were lost because of normal operations were severely and significantly negatively affected.
I think, though, if I
I mean, I
recall...
want to just answer
Go
your
ahead,
question the best I can.
Sure.
And, you know, Dave doesn't have all the answers, I don't have all the answers, and, I mean, what you're saying is probably a realistic thing. But, I mean, might be some tough decisions that have to be made in the township. That's,
I just
to
think,
put it mildly, there's some decisions that might have to be made that could affect people's futures in the township.
it's
That's
just
a fact.
easier sometimes to move gradually rather than to have a cliff event
Well, I
at
mean,
the end of
as
2 years.
far as I'm concerned, and I always thought the same thing, there was a group of individuals that thought surplus was just a waste. So, I mean.
I was never in
God,
that group,
I'm not
but I
saying you were, I'm
understand
not
that.
pointing any fingers, I'm just letting you know. And you know what? I think Brandon Umba opened up our eyes to that, all of us, and guess what? I mean, he set a number out there, you should have about 1.5 million in surplus on a budget of 11 to 15 million dollars.
Right.
And that's what the goal is.
And the other thing I was going to say is, and I appreciate what you're saying, Mr. Lyons, but the administrator at the last meeting, Mr. Umba, had stated that it wasn't an actual shortfall, it was a formula that the state used just to determine aid, and in our case, there was no actual revenue shortfall of anything near that quantity, or at least that was what I
No, it was a
understood him to say.
component part. I
So-
think we're on the same, there's a component
We
part.
didn't,
but
we didn't create the calculation, we just
did
benefited
suffer
from
No.
their
a
calculation.
significant
I understand
decrease-
that.
A significant decrease
It's-
in revenue. And the other thing, Mayor, as we've been working on, we have identified, we are constantly aggressively pursuing, you know, any other streams of revenue, whether it be municipal tax liens and things like that. We've had some success recently, and we're going to continue to do
You talk about
do
the
that.
COVID money, let's talk about the $500,000 we recouped on Pennsylvania Avenue. I mean, so your 10 cents is now 15 cents.
Right, and then
So-
if anything ever happens with the vacant
That's why
property
we're
ordinance,
aggressively going after the
you're looking
highest
at
tax
another
bills
5
in
cents.
town. We're gonna try to foreclose on them if we need to.
Right, I just, and again, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. You are the 5 people up there, so your vote is certainly, you've earned it by being up there. I just, I can't help but think that if you see a disaster or a potential disaster 2 years out, that the appropriate move is to take some steps to mitigate that now, or
And
last
honestly,
year,
I think
or the year before.
We're trying to do that with the budget. I mean, we could have went to 2 cents. We could have went to 1 cent because we had the money. But we want to build a surplus, and that's the bottom line. Nobody takes this lightly. I mean, you're talking about people's livelihoods at times, you know what I mean?
I do know, yes,
Yeah,
I'm fully
so-
aware.
I mean, we want a surplus. I mean, that's it. You know, I mean, it stinks that we got that money, and we had to raise the taxes still, but, I mean, we need to have a surplus. And nothing's gonna change. You're not gonna attract any good professionals. You're not gonna attract anybody to come here with the situation that we're left with right now. And you know what? I'll give them credit up here that they're willing to take the steps necessary to try to fix it.
Well, to fix it from the past couple years.
You got
because-
it, I mean, yeah,
because we
whatever.
had
Listen,
already-
and if we spent it, or if it was overspent,
Well,
listen, they told us we have $1.7 million in surplus. I've yet to ever see that really in a budget anywhere.
Well, you see it at the numbers at
You
the
see
end
it
of
at
the
the
year.
numbers, but really, I've never seen it.
You see it at the numbers at the end of the year, which are in the back of the budget. And in 2017, we had a $2.3 million surplus. So in the 3 years from 2017 until now, we've spent $2 million and over $100,000 more than what we've taxed. And I understand everyone wants to keep taxes low, and I get that. And we voted for 0 budget increases, in my opinion, 1 year longer than we should have, and lower than we should have the following year. And we're in a situation that it's going to spiral out of
Listen,
control.
the fact of the matter is, I mean, on the average, everybody gets a 2% raise, right? So you take your salaries, throw 2% on top of it, and that's where, and we're not even gonna get that back.
But right now.
If health insurance goes up, pension payments go up, Social Security goes up, so, you know.
They're all rising costs. I fully get that, and I understand that, and that's not what I'm saying. There are some issues, but I won't get into that, but I just think more steps should have been done now as opposed to kicking the can down the road, because 2 years from now, Heather, Tim, when you are up for reelection, you will be dealing with an over 10-cent tax increase. It's not going to go well.
Thank you.
Renee Pistoia, Party, 2787 East Grand Avenue. Some of you were up there 3 years ago. Some of them are sitting in the back there 3 years ago. So some of the mistakes were made many, many years. Anyway, so instead of trying to pass the buck backwards, I'm glad that you guys are trying to look forward and get things right for the township. So, speaking of that, how are we doing with our senior bus?
Fine.
Is it being worked on? Is it
It's
gonna?
being worked on, it was washed, I'm gonna go look at it, make sure before, we're gonna post for a driver, because we thought we would have the one lady drive, but she opted to resign too.
Michelle resigned? Or the old
Unfortunately. No,
lady?
Michelle resigned. So we're gonna put it out for a job posting or whatever, and then, I think they said they wanted to start
September 1st.
September 1st.
So the bus will be ready for them?
Bus will be ready. It's down there, it was being worked on, it's being cleaned and all that.
Super. And they got their coffee?
He did.
All right.
The
Yeah,
mayor bought coffee.
I
and
bought him a
a
coffee pot too.
Coffee pot.
Are they allowed to go back and use the coffee pot?
No, we just kept a wrapper on it so I could take it back to the store.
Well,
later on.
are the employee, is one of the employees going to make the coffee for them? Or it's what?
They made it already, they're happy.
Sweet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I get a motion to close the second public portion?
I make a motion, we close second public portion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody have any comments?
No, just to say thank you for the St. Mary's festivities that they had in the township. And we have one more meeting before school.
No.
So good luck
Are
to
we going
everybody
back to
heading back to school. Pay attention to the mandates and good luck with those.
What are you doing in your school, Heather?
Probably shouldn't talk about that here.
Oh,
I just want to thank these guys.
We
There's
are
a
right
lot-
over there.
There's a lot going on. I mean, a couple of you's touched on some of the issues that are out there, but, these guys are working hard, a lot of input, and this ain't easy. It's not easy. We're not in a very good position. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't need to lie to you. You know what's going on, but, I mean, they're gonna work to fix this, and that's the goal. Change is tough. Some people don't like change, but I can tell you that change is coming. So with that, I get a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks for coming out.